Fun එක next level කරන dialogue fan blaster.
Tonight on First at 9 this Wednesday the 4th of December 2024. The first test. Government's policy statement passed in Parliament without a vote. No foul, no harm. 2 more individuals arrested over Mahavir posts released on bail. Court says evidence is insufficient to prove suspects disrupted ethnic harmony. Global support. World Bank pledges to support government's Clean Sri Lanka program. Foreign inflows. Sri Lanka's export earnings rise to $13.5 billion by October.
Chilo Dairy, Sri Lanka Kiren Perata. Obe Vishwasi Dino Sensodyne, then Langamati Pharmacy in Labagata Hacker.
Kanta Parisankaragato? Api Parisan.
Asian Paints Causeway Aquasafe Vesat Mattu Together at Disney.
This is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to Sri Lanka's premier primetime English news bulletin, Derana First at 9. I'm Tarindu Mahendra, joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and from around the world. In your top story making headlines tonight, the government's policy statement was passed in Parliament without a vote today after 2 days of debate. During the day, Justice Minister Harshana Nanayakar announced that the government is set to introduce 3 significant bills in Parliament during the first quarter of next year, aimed at recovering stolen assets, combating money laundering, drug trafficking and associated crimes.
පහුගිය නැත්තං 21ත් 27ත් නොවැම්බර් මහවිරු සතිය තුල
During the Mahaviru celebrations between November 21 and 27, a total of 244 events were reported in the northern province, according to the police. Among these, LTTE-related symbols were displayed at 10 events. The police have taken action regarding these incidents. 2 cases were reported to the Kilinochchi Magistrates Court, 4 to the Point Pedro Magistrates Court and 1 to the Jaffna Magistrates Court. It was also observed that social media promotions related to these celebrations were ongoing in southern provinces over the past few weeks. Some posts used outdated photos from previous years to falsely claim LTT events were taking place in the north. Further investigations revealed that some of these celebrations occurred overseas. The investigations also identified a failed political group as being behind the misinformation. Police have since arrested several individuals connected with these activities.
ඒ අනුව මේ වෙනකොට මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් පුද්ගලයන් කිහිප දෙනෙක් අත්අඩංගුවට අරන් තියෙනවා. මේ රටේ නීති පද්ධතියක් තිබෙනවා. ඔය අපි පිළිගන්නවා ත්‍රස්තවාදයේ වැළැක්වීමේ පනත.
The government acknowledged the need to repeal the Prevention of Terrorism Act and maintains its stance on this matter. However, until a new anti-terrorism act aligned with international best practices and standards is established, the existing laws must be used to combat racism and separatism. The government plans to present 3 bills in the upcoming quarter.
අපේ රජය මගින් එන කාර්තුවේ මුල Proceeds of Crime Bill, Rescue and Rehabilitation and Insolvency Bill, amendments to the Audit Act. These 3 legislations in the form of bills will be presented to Parliament. The whole idea of this is to recover stolen assets, trace proceeds of crime with one law, and to effectively deter money laundering, drug trafficking and all related vices. The Audit Act and the Insolvency Act, they are to improve creditors' confidence and to protect the debtors' rights.
The government has announced plans to curb the allowances paid to the President. According to Article 36 of the Constitution, allowances paid to the President cannot be reduced and new laws cannot be enacted retroactively to affect them. Deputy Minister Chaturanga stated that a new proposal would be presented in the debt sustainability report, but for now the government is prepared to follow the IMF framework.
Debt sustainability analysis එක
We have clearly stated that we will engage in discussions for a new proposal for a debt sustainability analysis rather than altering the existing debt sustainability analysis.
debt sustainability analysis එක වෙනස් කරනවා කියලා අපි කොයි මොහොතකවත් කියලා නැහැ.
I remind you that this government has 2 laws for individuals like former MP Sivajalingam in the north and others who have been arrested. People have been arrested in the south under the PTA, while those in north have been arrested under the penal code. This is the issue.
I clarified this matter with the IGP and he confirmed that all information has been reported under the PTA, not the penal code. MP Daya Sirijasekara made a racist statement suggesting that there were 2 laws for the north and south.
I have never been an advocate for racism. I condemn the statement you made claiming that I am a racist.
Regarding bar permits, you mentioned that MPs in the north also have permits. MP Vigneshwaran even admitted to having one. Why has the list of permits not been published yet? We urge you to expedite the process before people take to the streets.
The 159 MPs have a great responsibility to protect the dignity of the 225 MPs. Others have some responsibility as well. However, it was you who spread the misinformation and labeled the 225 MPs as fraudsters. Investigate fraudulent activities. I will not challenge that. You said laws will be brought forward. Please do so without delay.
Over 250,000 acres of paddy fields were destroyed due to the floods, which is expected to impact the country's rice production. We need to recultivate about 70,000 acres, which will affect production. In response, the cabinet decided to lift all restrictions on rice imports until midnight on the 20th of December. We expect to import 50,000 to 70,000 metric tons of rice. Additionally, through the Satosa Corporation and the Sri Lanka State Trading Corporation, we have already imported 70,000 metric tons of rice. Regarding questions about why we are not going directly to rice mills, we contacted all mill owners who requested our intervention to resolve a banking issue. Once resolved, they promised to release 200,000 kilograms of rice per day at a market price of 220 rupees starting today through Satosa cooperatives.
I would like to present the list of new bar permits issued this year. A total of 361 permits have been issued since January and 172 wine store permits have also been granted. We will table the names in Parliament.
Following
the 2-day debate, the new government's policy statement was passed in Parliament without a vote.
ආණ්ඩුවේ ප්‍රතිපත්ති ප්‍රකාශය පිළිබඳ යෝජනාව බෙදීමක් නොමැතිව ඒකමතිකව සම්මත වූ බව මෙම සභාවට දන්වනු කැමැත්තෙමි.
පිරිපුන් ජීවිතයකට ඔබ සමගින් පෙරට Union Assurance.
Welcome to Cinnamon Life, South Asia's biggest entertainment hub, where awe awaits.
චන්දුරුසුනේ කාගෙත් මනාපේ සිග TV සඳහා සුපිරි ඩීල්.
Sadaharita Plantations Limited, celebrating 22 years of your trust.
Political activist Kalum Jayasumana, who was arrested on charges of exciting disaffection and publicizing the activities of proscribed organizations, particularly the LTTE, through his social media posts regarding Mahavir commemorations, was released on bail today by the Colombo Chief Magistrates Court. Jayasumana was granted bail due to the lack of evidence presented to the court, confirming that public order and ethnic harmony were disrupted through his conduct. On the 1st of December, police apprehended 4 individuals on charges ranging from exciting or attempting to excite disaffection and spreading false and misleading videos publicizing the activities of proscribed organizations, particularly the LTTE, over their social media posts claiming that Mahavir commemorations had been held in the northern province. Subsequently, political activist Kalum Jayasumana, who was among the arrestees, was ordered to be placed under remand custody after being produced before court. The relevant legal matter was taken for consideration before the Colombo Chief Magistrate Derana today. During the hearing, the officers of the Criminal Investigation Department stated that the suspect had reposted an image originally uploaded to Facebook by a woman in France that featured the symbols of the LTTE, a proscribed organization. Claiming that his actions had disrupted public order and ethnic harmony, they added that no such events were held in the north as alleged by the suspect on his posts. Subsequently, the Colombo Chief Magistrate Derana questioned the CID officers on whether statements confirming that public order had been violated due to the suspect's conduct had been recorded and submitted to the court. In response, the CID officers revealed that no such statements were recorded and submitted to court. Subsequently, the Colombo Chief Magistrate inquired how the suspect could be further remanded in the absence of evidence, confirming that a public disturbance had occurred. He further elaborated that suspects could not be placed under remand custody based on what the authorities have in mind without presenting evidence to the court. Accordingly, the Colombo Chief Magistrate ordered that the suspect be released on 2 surety bails and ordered the matter to be recalled on the 3rd of April next year.
පොලිසිය CID එක තමන්ගේ ඔළුවේ තියෙන තමන්ගේ හිතේ තියෙන හිතලුත් එක්ක තමයි
Social activist and the Kurunegala district candidate of the New Democratic Front, Kalum Jayasumana, was apprehended early in the morning by the CID and the police officers without even recording a statement. They arrested him based on what they had in their mind. It is said that the legal proceedings were initiated on the direct order of the IGP. This government has implemented a mechanism of repression. The cabinet spokesman said they will utilize the PTA to combat racism. I have no idea how they plan to use the PTA against racism. The ICCPR Act can be used to combat racism. We already have an idea of how this government will take measure to suppress the liberties of the people.
Meanwhile, another individual arrested and placed under remand custody for posting images of the LTTE leader on his Facebook page was also released on bail by the Jaffna Magistrates Court today.
Fast track your career from O levels with eSoft.
ඩයිබටසෝල් සීනිවලින් පරිස්සම් වන ඔබට අමතක නොවන පෝෂණය.
ප්‍රයිම් ගෲප් ලංකාවේ ප්‍රථම වතාවට හඳුන්වා දෙන ලෑන්ඩ් ලීසින් ලේසියෙන් මීටමක්.
Single 1111 up to 60% off from the 11th November to the 17th of November.
Kalani wire කිසිගින්නක් නෑ.
කිසිගින්නක් නෑ. Kalani Fire Shield Wire.
Now, the National Procurement Commission is conducting an investigation into the method by which the previous government granted the tender to purchase 5 million electronic passports. This was communicated to the Court of Appeal by Additional Solicitor General Sumati Dharmawardena when the petition filed by Epic Lanka Private Limited challenging the previous government's decision to purchase 750,000 regular passports and 5 million e-passports from 2 foreign firms were taken up for consideration yesterday. The Additional Solicitor General added that the Procurement Commission has requested a period of 1 week to submit observations related to the investigation and requested a date to inform the court of its progress. Meanwhile, President's Counsel K. Kanagiswara, who appeared on behalf of a few companies named as respondents to the petition, requested the court for a date to consider his client's request for the lifting of the injunction issued preventing the purchase of passports. Accordingly, the court ordered the case to be recalled on the 23rd of January next year. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Defence announced a new policy limiting the issuance of firearms to civilians for self-defence to only 1 per individual. This decision follows a survey conducted by the Ministry to assess the distribution and usage of firearms among civilians. Preliminary findings have revealed that over 1,500 firearms have been issued to civilians, with some individuals possessing more than 1 weapon. The Ministry of Defence clarified that exceptions to the 1 firearm rule will be considered only after a thorough security analysis, but the final decision in such cases will rest with the Ministry. On the 4th of October, the Ministry of Defence had announced that all firearms and ammunition provided to civilians for self-defence must be handed over to the relevant authorities before the 7th of November. The ministry stated that they will be returned pending a review and consideration of the need to possess such weapons. The Inland Revenue Department has extended the deadline for filing income tax returns for the year of assessment 2023-24 in a bid to provide relief to taxpayers and accountants affected by the recent adverse weather. Previously, the IRD stated that under the Inland Revenue Act, taxpayers are required to file their returns within 8 months following the end of the assessment year, with the 30th of November being set as the original deadline for this year. However, in a recent statement, the IRD acknowledged the challenges posed by adverse weather over the past few days, which have significantly impacted taxpayers and accountants. To address these difficulties, the department announced that penalties for late filing criminal proceedings under the Inland Revenue Act, and default assessments will not be imposed for returns submitted on or before the 7th of December this year. This extension aims to ensure fair compliance and offers affected individuals an opportunity to complete their filings without undue stress. The liquor manufacturing license issued to W.M. Mendes and Company Limited will be suspended from tomorrow due to their failure to pay 5.7 billion rupees in excise taxes and surcharges. The Excise Department stated that measures have been taken not to renew the other licenses issued to the company from the 31st of December onwards if the company continues non-payment of tax, arrears and surcharges. This comes against a backdrop where the Court of Appeals today ordered the dismissal of a petition filed by W.M. Mendes and Company Limited without taking it up for hearing. W.M. Mendes Distilleries had filed the petition seeking an order invalidating the letter issued by the Department of Excise, informing that steps will be taken to suspend the excise license issued to the company if outstanding excise duties were not settled before the end of November. Now, the World Bank has expressed its commitment to supporting the government's Clean Sri Lanka program. This was conveyed by World Bank Executive Director Parameswaran Iyer during a meeting with President Anura Dissanayake at the Presidential Secretariat today. Taking to X, the head of state said several key areas of the country's development priorities, including rural poverty alleviation and digitalization, were discussed during the meeting. In addition, sectoral advancements in agriculture, health and education sectors were also among the topics discussed. The Energy Efficiency Testing Laboratory, funded and established by the Republic of Korea, was officially inaugurated recently in Jayala. The laboratory, the construction of which was a 5-year, $13.8 billion project, is expected to aid in improving the efficiency of air conditioning appliances. The establishment of the laboratory was a collaborative effort involving Korea's key energy-focused institutions, the Korea Energy Agency, Korea Research Institute on Climate Change and the Korea Testing Certification Institute. The inauguration ceremony, which was held on the 28th of November, was attended by the Korean ambassador to Sri Lanka, Myeon Lee, chairman of the Sustainable Energy Authority, Professor TMWJ Bandara, and chairman of the Lanka Electricity Company, Janaka Alutge. Welcome back. The ambassador of the United Arab Emirates to Sri Lanka, Khalid Nazir Al Ameri, highlighted Sri Lanka's potential as a South Asian economic hub, emphasizing the opportunities it presents for investments from the UAE. Speaking at an event in Colombo, the ambassador expressed the UAE's strong interest in Sri Lanka's renewable energy sector. Minister of Trade and Commerce Sunil Hadunetti, who was also present at the event, encouraged the UAE to consider investments in the country's key ports as well as the Colombo port city. The Embassy of the United Arab Emirates recently celebrated the UAE's 53rd Union Day in Colombo. The event was attended by the Ambassador of the UAE to Sri Lanka, Khalid Nazir Al Ameri, and Sri Lanka's Minister of Trade and Commerce, Sunil Hadunetti, among other dignitaries.
The UAE reaffirms its friendship and partnership with Sri Lanka, and we stand ready to collaborate in building a prosperous future for all. The UAE is a leading investor and key trading partner for Sri Lanka, with growing interest in sectors like graphene production. This exemplifies our recent venture and the MOU between LOLC Advanced Technology and Khalifa University. Remittances from UAE also play a vital role, reaching $166 million in the first half of this year. That's a 16% increase. Sri Lanka's potential as a South Asia economic hub promises even greater opportunities for collaboration with the UAE. We are particularly keen to strengthening cooperation in renewable energy a sector that holds immense promise for Sri Lanka's sustainable development. As this year is the year of sustainability in the UAE, we are in the process of selecting talented young Sri Lankans who are active in this field as sustainability champions and awarding them air tickets to participate in the Abu Dhabi Sustainability Week in 2025.
As a Sri Lankan bounces back after 3 years of economic challenges, we invite the United Arab Emirates to be a strong development partner in achieving our development targets and invite UAE investors to invest in Sri Lanka, especially in the renewable energy sector, tourist sector, IT parks, Colombo Port City, Hambantota Port, among other attractive business opportunities.
Sri Lanka's export earnings in October this year reached $1.09 billion, marking a year-on-year improvement of 18.22%. The Export Development Board also noted an 8.44% increase in exports from September to October this year. Meanwhile, total exports for the first 10 months of 2024 were recorded at $13.5 billion, reflecting a 7.19% increase over the same period last year. The rise in export earnings was primarily driven by the increase in the export of apparel and textiles, tea, rubber-based products, coconut-based products and spices and concentrates. Export earnings from apparel and textiles increased by 21.77% year-on-year to $430.21 million in October this year. Notably, exports of apparel and textiles to the USA and UK increased by 23.28% and 23.26% respectively in October 2024 compared to a year earlier. Tea exports increased by 32.6% to $126.81 million year-on-year. Exports of rubber and rubber-based products meanwhile grew by 6.26% to $84.69 million, while coconut exports increased by 29.27%. Year-on-year export earnings from spices and concentrates increased by 56.88% to $51.3 million in the month of October. Among Sri Lanka's top 10 export markets, the United States, the United Kingdom, India, Germany, the Netherlands and Canada all exhibited positive growth during the month. Exports to the European Union, which accounts for 24% of Sri Lanka's total exports, increased by 18.35% year-on-year during the month. During the first 10 months of 2024, cumulative merchandise exports increased by 7.04% to $10.6 billion compared to the same period in 2023. The estimated value of service exports is expected to rise by 7.73% to $2.8 billion during October. Consequently, total exports for the first 10 months of 2024, including both merchandise and services, were recorded at $13.46 billion, a 7.19% increase over the same period of 2023. The all-share price index closed at its all-time high today, surpassing the previous record set on the 19th of January 2022. Indices closed in green today as a result of price gains in capital goods and banking counters, with the turnover crossing 5.2 billion rupees. The SPI saw an increase by 171.69 points within the day to close at 13,511.73 points, while the S&P SL20 also ended 1.90% higher to end at 4,016.60 points. With that, market analysts say the ASPI reached the target set for 2024 and the new target set for 2025 is 15,000 points. According to analysts, these market conditions are expected to remain high for the next few months as Sri Lanka nears the conclusion of the debt restructuring process. Analysts further said more foreign interest in the market is also expected in future. Up next, we have Minal Vikramage from Capital Alliance with some thoughts on the current status of the economy in our next segment, Economic Outlook.
On an year-on-year basis, for the CCPIs, headline inflation remained in negative territory for the third consecutive month. November 2024 recorded a deflation of minus 2.1%. Broad money, or M2B, expanded by 8.9% on an year-on-year basis in October 2024. Net credit to the government decreased by 62.8 billion LKR, and outstanding credit to the public corporations increased by 8.8 billion LKR. Credit extended to the private sector rose by 74.3 billion LKR, marking an year-on-year growth of 9.3%. Total outstanding market liquidity recorded a surplus of 146.9 billion LKR by November 29 compared to 93.29 billion LKR of the previous week. The Sri Lankan rupee appreciated by 11.3% against the US dollar during the year up to November 29th.
And with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of First at 9. Thank you for joining and have a good night.